In July 1918, inside a dimly lit basement in Yekaterinburg, the last Russian Tsar was executed alongside his wife, his children, and the last hopes of the Romanov dynasty. For more than a century, the explanation has seemed simple. The revolution arrived, the monarchy collapsed, and history swept Nicholas II aside. But there is one haunting question that refuses to disappear. How does one of the most powerful men on earth lose absolutely everything without a real fight? Nicholas II commanded millions of soldiers. He ruled an empire stretching across one-sixth of the planet. Generals, governors, ministers, and nobles all answered to him, and yet, when the moment of crisis arrived, the empire crumbled almost without resistance. Why? Was Nicholas simply overwhelmed by forces beyond his control? Or did the real cause lie much closer to home? Those who knew him personally often described a surprisingly pleasant man. He adored his family, was devoted to his wife, and rarely lost his temper. Even during moments of enormous pressure, he appeared calm and polite. At first glance, these seem like admirable qualities. But leadership has a dangerous paradox. The traits that make someone a good person do not always make them an effective ruler. The brutal truth was that Nicholas hated conflict. When advisors disagreed, he habitually avoided choosing sides. He would listen carefully, nod in agreement, and promise action. Then, days later, he would quietly reverse course or postpone the decision altogether. Several ministers described meetings with the Tsar as deeply frustrating. He appeared attentive, he seemed convinced, yet somehow nothing changed. The same problems returned again and again. Warnings were heard but not acted upon. Reforms were discussed but delayed. Difficult choices were pushed into the future, and the future was arriving faster than anyone expected. While Nicholas searched for stability, Russia was mutating at a terrifying speed. Factories were filling with restless workers, political radicals were gaining traction, and food shortages were creating anger in major cities. The government was trapped in constant dysfunction. During World War I, catastrophic military defeats shattered public confidence and exhausted the nation. Meanwhile, the shadow of Rasputin became a national scandal that systematically damaged the credibility of the monarchy itself. Nicholas witnessed these problems. He was neither blind nor uninformed. The tragedy lay elsewhere. Seeing a problem and confronting it are not the same thing. Again and again, advisors urged decisive action. Again and again, Nicholas hesitated. Whenever reality demanded an uncomfortable choice, he manufactured reasons to believe the situation might improve on its own. It never did. Over time, he surrounded himself with echoes, people who reassured him rather than challenged him. Honest criticism became increasingly rare, and the distance between the throne and reality grew wider with every passing year. That distance would eventually become fatal. There is a common myth about the collapse of great systems. People imagine a single, dramatic moment when everything falls apart. History is usually less cinematic. Most collapses happen slowly, a delayed decision, an ignored warning, a problem that feels easier to postpone than to solve. Then another and another, until one day there is no time left. By early 1917, Russia was reaching that point. The war was devastating the country, public trust was disappearing, and the political system was losing legitimacy. Even many loyal supporters of the monarchy no longer believed Nicholas could lead the nation through the abyss. The empire was not destroyed overnight, it was hollowed out by years of hesitation. Then came March 1917. Inside a railway carriage, Nicholas II signed his abdication. With a few strokes of a pencil, 3 centuries of Romanov rule came to an end. Witnesses later noted something remarkable. The Tsar did not appear furious or devastated. Some even thought he looked relieved, perhaps because the crushing burden of decision-making had finally been taken away from him. This is what makes the story of Nicholas II so deeply fascinating. He was no monster, he was not incompetent in the way history often portrays failed rulers, and he did not wish suffering upon his people. His fatal mistake was far more ordinary. He believed that good intentions could substitute for difficult decisions. They cannot. Empires rarely collapse because their enemies suddenly become stronger. More often, they collapse because their leaders spend too long avoiding realities they do not want to face. History has little interest in intentions. It only remembers decisions. And that raises an uncomfortable question worth sitting with. How often do we delay difficult choices because we hope circumstances will somehow improve on their own? How often do we mistake kindness for leadership, patience for action, or optimism for strategy? Nicholas II possessed power, wealth, influence, and every resource imaginable, yet he lost everything, not because the revolution arrived, but because long before the revolution, he stopped confronting reality. Leave your thoughts in the comments.